Let's talk to Jonathan Davis. Jonathan is an economist and wealth manager from Hertfordshire. Good afternoon, Jonathan.
Hello, Roberto.
Look, is it a surprise to anyone that the rich and powerful are finding really interesting ways to pay as little tax as possible?
Well, we have to remember the immortal phrase in the movie Casablanca, "I am shocked there's gambling going on in this casino." Of course we can't be surprised, or certainly not shocked. It's been the way of the world since ancient Greece, since we bartered hogs for our safety, etc. I've said to you in the past, the people who pay the taxes are the workers, the middle class, and the rich earners, but not the poor, because they don't earn, and not the super rich. The super rich have almost never paid a fair share of taxes. Is it right? Of course it's not right, but it's what the politicians have given us since time immemorial.
So do you think anything will happen because of this huge leak of documents? I mean, clearly there are so many people implicated here. And in some countries it'll be difficult to sort of track them down. But John McDonnell, we just heard the Shadow Chancellor saying the Inland Revenue should do. What can they do?
Well, do you think there's going to be a shortage of applicants within HMRC for the posting out to the Bahamas to check the records? I suspect not. There'll be a lot of people investigating, and there'll be a lot of brouhaha. But when you consider that there are members of Parliament, not just in the UK but around the world, members of the House of Lords who are involved in this, you tell me if this is actually going to lead to anywhere, especially when you consider that the likes of Winston Churchill tried to sort this out decades ago and didn't get anywhere.
But I've got to ask you, how much money is too much? You know, for most people listening, they pay PAYE. We're all struggling to pay the bills as they come through. We'd just like a little bit extra to ease the burden on our mind. But for some people, how much is too? But don't they get bored of having all this money?
Well, I remember reading a few years ago that once you become so rich that money no longer matters, in order to keep you interested, the thing that you then do is you try to get up the rich person's lists. It's about keeping a score. And yes, it matters to them psychologically. To me, it's psychopathic, and I'm not exaggerating, because if I had 10 million quid, there's no way I'd be speaking to you right now, because I'd be in the Bahamas.
Oh, get out of it, sure. Of course you talk to me. You like it, Jonathan.
You know what I mean.
but 10 million is well. But the sort of people implicated with sort of putting their money through this firm in Panama, it's more than it's not the millions, it's the billions of pounds.
No, but I was putting the point that with £10 million, you could spend £500,000 a year and not eat into your capital. But as you quite rightly say, this is billionaires' money and hundreds of millionaires' money. This is serious money, and it's all about, as far as I understand, it's all about avoiding tax. No doubt there's some privacy issues too, and everyone has a right to privacy, but it's primarily about avoiding tax, because we don't know if it's criminal. We simply don't know that. We don't know if it's evasion, but we certainly know they're not paying taxes. It's like when Google summed up £130 million a few months ago for the 10 years of vast profits in the UK. Well, it should have been in at least £1 billion probably, if they were paying a reasonable sum that other companies pay. But because they're an international concern, and because the politicians let them get away with it, these companies pay whatever they want, which is not a lot.
Jonathan, whether it's a huge company, whether it's the president of a country, does it just come down to pure greed? I mean, if you've got 10 million, you could pay £5 million in tax. You've still got £5 million. You could live like a king.
No, I'm not going to accept the argument which I'm hearing from the media all day, that it's down to the individual's responsibility to pay more tax. No one on the planet would pay they have to. It's the politicians and the international public sector organisations which have allowed these tax laws to develop as they have.
But in that case, Jonathan, nothing will ever change. If you're a bus driver, a van driver, a nurse, or a teacher, you will have to pay every penny in tax. If you're a small business, woe betide you get your decimal point out of place, because the inland revenue will come down on you like a ton of bricks. But if you're the president of a country or the head of a corporation, you can do what you like.
I'm afraid to say that has been the case since ancient Egypt, and it will be the case when we eventually go to Alpha Centauri.
Jonathan, thank you. Jonathan Davies, Economist and Wealth Manager from Hertfordshire. I know he's right. But isn't it immoral?